A rolling shot is a photo of a car that was taken with both the car and the camera moving. Today we're going to be going through how to achieve the closest looking rolling shot without actually putting you or your gear in any real danger. So today we're going to be taking photos of my girlfriend's car because she has a little bit of a cooler looking car than me, I think. So the first thing is really important is that we'll be taking two photos. One with the car in shot and then another with the car out of the shot. And this will be our clean plate. Both have to be on a tripod. The camera can't move, otherwise it will ruin the effect and it will make our lives very difficult later on. So the first photo we'll call our car shot and the second photo we'll call our clean plate. This goes without saying, but just make sure you're using a polarizing filter and all of your photos are in RAW. As far as camera setting goes, my ISO is at 100, I'm at f4 and my shutter is at 1/2000. Be careful with your aperture though. With this kind of shot you want all of the car in focus since we're going to be masking out the whole car. I'm also at around 50mm. For other car photography tips, I highly recommend you check out my how to instantly improve your car photography video, and that will be linked in the description. Okay, so we've taken our two photos, one with the car and one without, so we can now jump over into Photoshop. So right now I've got the two images laid on top of one another. The first job that we have is to mask out the car. Go over to the toolbar and click on the pen tool. Alternatively, you could just press P on the keyboard. I'm going to trace around the car as best as I can. I'm going to do it kind of rough for now for demonstration purposes. Ideally you want to spend a bit of time getting this as accurate as possible. Once you've completed the mask, right click, click Make Selection, then add a layer mask. So what we've done now is we've got the background and the car on completely separate layers. Select the bottom layer, our clean plate, right click and convert to smart object. For the next part I'm going to be using the path blur effect inside of Photoshop. To get to this, go to Filter, Blur Gallery, Path Blur. This effect is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously the arrows denote which direction the blur goes. The speed is how much motion blur there is. Normally I leave the taper at 0%. You can have multiple arrows as well. Once you're happy, click OK. You'll notice that at the moment everything looks really fake. That is mainly due to the lack of shadows. So to add back in the shadows that we first masked out, create a new layer and drag and drop it above our clean plate. Use the pen tool and create a shadow. The reason why we didn't mask out the shadow along with the car at first is because we want the areas cast in shadow to be in motion blur as well. Once you're happy with your shadow, right click, make selection, then OK. Click on the paint bucket tool on the left side of the screen, make the colour black and click inside the selection. Convert this to a smart object in case we want to edit this later. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm doing this because I don't want my shadow to be quite so harsh. Then reduce the opacity to something realistic. After this I decided to add a couple more shadows underneath the car. Feel free to do the same with your edit. Next, I want to blur the wheels so that they're also in motion. For this, I duplicate the masked out car layer, convert it to a smart object, go to Filter, Blur Gallery, Path Blur. I use pretty much the same controls as I did earlier to keep everything consistent and at the same level of motion blur. Once you're happy, click OK. I'm now going to duplicate this layer and mask out both wheels on separate layers. And as far as creating our fake rolling shot, this is pretty much it for how you get that effect. Now what I normally do is, if I want to do any more edits, I do those on new layers if possible. After that, I then import it into Lightroom where I do my final adjustments. I spent quite a bit of time editing this image, and this is what I ended up with. What do you think? So hopefully you got something out of this, and hopefully it all made sense. If you like the video, then please give me a like, subscribe, comment, and make sure you click that bell icon to be notified whenever I make a new upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.